Okay, it is 10 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order. Certify that we do have a quorum. All 5 members are present. Item number 2 is an opening prayer, and we do have Gregory Chambers somewhere. With all the masks on, it's hard to tell where anybody is. From First Christian Church to lead us in the opening prayer, and following that, Commissioner John Clement will lead us in the pledges. Would everybody please rise?
Let's pray. Holy and loving God, we thank you for this opportunity to gather in this time and in this place to conduct the business of this county. Lord, we ask for your blessing to be upon us, that mercy and peace, hope and justice will fill our hearts this Christmas season, and that we may give abundantly of ourselves, just as your Son gave abundantly of himself. Teach us to love like Christ, to be a reflection of his love into this world, that we may bring honor and glory to you all the days of our lives. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, gentlemen. Item number 5 is public comments. I don't believe we had anybody sign up. Item number 6 is the consent agenda. Does anybody have any items?
Pull off G as in Gary.
G as in Gary. Any other items?
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion by Commissioner John Clement to approve the consent with the exception of item G.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Snuggs. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0. Item G is deliberate and consider possible approval of removal of misplaced and/or lost inventory items as described on attached list A, which should be in your packet.
Is that, how many years worth is this?
I don't know. This came from the auditor's office. Shelley is running a little bit late. If we want to wait until she comes in and kind of explain the, it looks
How do you
quite
lose?
old.
How do you lose all? I'll try, I'm not going to try to pronounce it. L-A-R-Y-N-G-O.
Laryngoscope.
Laryngoscope. I'm just curious.
We can wait until she comes in
let's
and
wait.
give us a little bit more of a context on how
I
long,
just want to know if it's 1 year, 2 years,
or 20.
or 20 years. Odds are it's multiple years.
Yes.
I'm just curious.
We'll wait and come back to item G once she gets in.
Besides, apparently the county judge lost a subwoofer.
Oh, I did. I never had a subwoofer,
He
so
had a subwoofer, speaker, and a heater.
that's. Oh.
Oh.
3.
Okay, that's.
I didn't even know I had a subwoofer.
Yeah, well, let's wait
speaker,
till she comes back. Yeah, the subwoofer, I could have used that maybe. Anyway.
Did that make the baseball game sound better?
Yeah.
Well, the auditor lost a heat gun. I don't really know exactly.
Yeah, there's some, just curious.
We'll
Let's
move
let
on.
it sit till she
Yeah,
comes.
we'll come back to that. Move on to item 7, which is open public hearing regarding a replat of Lot 5 on Boyd subdivision, Phase 1 in Precinct 3, 10:04. Do we have anybody that signed up for that hearing? We have anybody that wishes to speak that didn't get a chance to sign up? If not, seeing nobody, item 8 is to close that public hearing, and it is 10:04, and that public hearing is closed. Item number 9 is deliberate and consider possible approval of the replat of Lot 5 of Boyd Estate, Phase 1 in Precinct 3. This is part of a 2-part development. So there's a replat of Lot 5, and then there's going to be a Phase 2. The way that is drawn on the map is all as one, and we haven't received all the documentation we need on that Phase 2 as far as drainage surveys and everything else. So my suggestion is we've accomplished what we need to on the public hearing, but that we don't approve this until we can approve both this and the Phase 2 at a later date. So I would suggest we take no action on this unless Commissioner John Clement.
I agree with you. It's take no action till we get the further information.
So, not hearing anything else. Item 9 will be no action. Item 10 is open to public hearing regarding a request for replat of lots 1735 and 1736 of Lake Kiowa subdivision in precinct 2. It's 10:05 and that public hearing is open. Do we have anybody that signed up for that public hearing? Do we have anybody that wishes to speak that did not get a chance to sign up? Seeing nobody, that public hearing is closed at also 10:05, which is item number 11. Item number 12 is deliberate and consider possible approval of replat of lots 1735 and 1736 in Lake Kiowa subdivision in precinct 2. Commissioner Snuggs, you have anything on this?
Nope. POA signed off on it. I thought it was going to be that funny one that we talked about.
No, that one hadn't came through yet.
This is just a normal one. I make a motion we approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Snuggs. Second. Second by Commissioner Hollowell. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 13 is deliberate and consider possible approval of preliminary plat for Good Life Estates in Precinct 1. Commissioner Hollowell.
That's a small subdivision off of County Road 118 with no interior roads to be considered. I think all the drainage studies have been done, and I'd make the motion, we approve it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell to approve the preliminary, seconded by Commissioner John Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 14 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding approval of broker or brokers for possible investment of county funds. Let's wait until Shelley gets here on this, because we're going to have some discussion on that.
Committee met on that,
The
right?
committee met on that. We've had a couple of different meetings on it. I don't know if we've got 3 different brokerage firms that have submitted information. What we're looking at is the possibility of investing a portion of our unencumbered reserves in treasury bonds, T-bonds, for some set period of time of up to, our policy allows up to 2 years, but whether we want to do up to 2 years or not. And part of that is diversification a little bit with current economic status. Those are very, very stable, and it wouldn't be tying it up in a bank.
So, we take some of the funds we have in banks or, long-term, not long-term, but CD type things, money markets, and put it in these.
I'm sure you discussed it, but y'all will spread that out, the reserves throughout the county. In other words, road and bridge reserve, for instance, wouldn't be in a single investment. In other words, any reserve that a particular road and bridge account has would be further diversified.
I think we're mainly looking at general fund, because
General
that's where
fund,
you're.
that wasn't road and bridge, because all we talked about was general fund.
All we talked about was doing general fund. Obviously, the interest rate on any of this stuff is minuscule at best. And then we're not doing it for that. We're doing it for the security and stability of that, and for diversification. There's 3 different brokers that had, we have to have a broker in order to do that. And so we sent out requests for information, and 3 different brokers responded. You can tell the interest rates on most of those are all the same or very, very close to the same. And, you're talking of a yield of 0.09 on a 1 year. So, I mean, it's, you're not talking any great amount.
And it's not going to get any better.
But today tax star is 0.06.
So, I mean, it's not like you're getting the money anywhere else at a better rate. But there is 3 different ones, and I think the conversation needs to be choosing one or multiple, and then how much funds are we willing to put in that.
So I agree, we wait for Shelley.
Yeah, and before we get into the specifics of it, but that's an overview, and we'll come back to that. She said she'd be about 10, 15 minutes late, and we're breezing through at the moment, so we'll pick her up in a minute. Item 15 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding courthouse annex remodel. I think everything downstairs has been completed. Ricky is out today, so he's not here. I don't necessarily have anything more on it. but I wanted to open up for discussion.
I know we generally have a tough time identifying the footprint. Some discussion might be worthwhile to take our downstairs footprint and move it upstairs, incorporating the proposed break area and restrooms, and IT in that, back in the northeast corner, taking in part of that open area by where the break area would be. And that would leave all of our election stuff downstairs, and we wouldn't have to worry about load limits on the second floor. And that's just a thought, something that we might think about.
So you're,
I wouldn't mirror the downstairs. I would, if we moved the JP's office upstairs, those wouldn't be high wall offices. So we do it in a cubicle type,
you'd have an open set
have,
for
you know,
that
if they
office
need
and-
cubicles, you'd have to have a high wall for your judge.
Yeah,
And then that would also allow him his small courtroom.
you'd have some type of court
Which if you
set,
just
yeah.
basically moved everything upstairs and added IT, then that would leave everything else downstairs for elections.
I hate to build another courtroom though. You could move IT upstairs. And you have said IT is big enough for your early voting.
I think we can vote in there. I feel like it's enough room.
So you could vote in there, but you would still need some place to do a lot of your,
Your storage,
Have
for
the
now.
storage
Yeah.
and testing.
tabulations and
It
all
takes
that.
up that whole, right now with all the express vote, it takes up the whole middle room there upstairs right now.
so we know, we've kind of narrowed down the handful of offices that are even in this discussion. Which includes a couple of offices over there now, your office, Daryl's office, those type of things. Do we need to set up another workshop and kind of hammer out? I mean, because if we're looking at spending the money we're looking at spending anyway, I don't know,
I throw that out there.
yeah.
Or you're gonna spend a bunch of money, you talk about just building a courtroom and having low wall offices and all that.
That'll add,
Plus, we may have this other building coming into play too, and I don't know.
And we may want to hold off on the investment of the remodel until we decide.
Until we realize exactly what we have over there.
I don't
or
know
don't
that it'd
have.
hurt to go ahead and finish out the perimeter walls, put the windows in, and.
but until you
not make a
determine,
move,
yeah,
not
yeah.
make a move.
You could do that.
But you talk about a courtroom, it would pretty much be an open area upstairs. So I don't see a huge expense right there.
No different than what has
And
already
then
kind of
when
been
you
cost
do the
out.
perimeters, on the other side, assume that the other side, by that I mean the southeast corner, if that basically is consumed by the JP's office, other than some low-wall Herman Miller type stuff, you put one office in there.
Yeah.
And so maybe not as much as expense as we might think, but
Yeah, replicating a courtroom's gonna cost you more by the time you figure sound and everything that's gonna go into it, the judge's office and, yeah. I don't know. We'll talk about it.
How big a courtroom do they actually need? Do they need what they're using now? Do they need something that big?
You don't need quite as big as what that annex courtroom is, but you would need something probably, I'd just be guessing on square footage, but you need something big enough to have a couple of defendants, a couple of witnesses, and if you're having a trial, you got 6. The biggest thing, I mean, if you're calling a jury trial to do the voir dire, you're gonna have 25 or 30, I'm guessing, Ed, about 30 by the time you, that's your biggest time you're gonna pack anybody in. And you could even do the voir dire, as infrequent as jury trials are, in another courtroom and then have the trial in a smaller courtroom.
What about
probably
the,
gonna be CPS though.
Yeah.
what about the CPS?
Downstairs, that's what I'm saying, downstairs, if you use that downstairs courtroom, that's fine for CPS and all that, but I'm just talking about for the JPs. You're really only using a smaller footprint
Yeah,
99%
but
of the
he wants
time.
to move the CPS court upstairs.
Oh,
I'm saying take the downstairs footprint on the south side of the wall, move it upstairs. But you, instead of the JP's being, or the administrative assistants in JP's office all being in high walls. They would simply be in Herman Miller type modular furniture, so you're not
Something
spending a
that's
bunch of money there.
flexible, movable anyway.
But anyway, probably a workshop discussion.
Yeah, that's
not for
what-
today, but just something to throw out there for consideration.
And
But
if,
we could go ahead and do the perimeters. I'm assuming HVAC footprint wouldn't be a whole lot different.
Probably not.
Lighting's probably not a whole lot different. Windows are not. So we could go ahead and do the break areas, the restrooms, and IT. We could, I think we could move forward with that and leave the south side of it unoccupied for now.
Where are you moving IT?
In the northeast corner, next to the mechanical room,
Right.
and then let him expand out into what's currently the recessed floor area that will be brought up to floor level.
It's what we talked about doing originally, and then everybody freaked out and went around telling Daryl that we were gonna shove him in a closet.
I mean,
Remember, we discussed all this, and by the time it got through this building, we were fixing to put him out on the street. Anyway,
that should be space enough. It'd be finished out, and it, right now you wouldn't have a whole lot of public running up and down the elevator,
yeah,
so.
yeah, like I said, I think a workshop would be good, and by then we might need to
Take a
incorporate
workshop.
that. Yeah, incorporate all of that into a couple of workshops after the first of the year.
Workshop for a workshop.
Dale said he is completely fine with being in a, no,
well, I don't know, reconstructing a new courtroom when we already have one is kind of,
well,
That would become the space would be utilized for early voting, I would
Yeah.
think, or voting, but anyway,
we can
a workshop.
workshop that in the very near future, probably.
Shelley
after the
slipped
first of the
in while we wasn't paying
year.
attention.
Yeah, let's go back up
go
and,
back to
item G. Item G, which is deliberate and consider possible approval of removal of misplaced and/or lost inventory items as described on attached list. I know there were some questions about how far back all this goes, and
yeah, I was curious, is this 6 months or a year or two?
Debbie did an extensive inventory count.
Yeah.
And this is countywide, current. I mean, I don't know how,
You don't know how far back it goes?
just,
I mean, something the size of the jaws of life, did we lose it in the last year or so, or maybe 20 years ago?
Or an ambulance cot, do they?
I mean, some of it could have been sold on an auction or something.
Okay.
I mean, it just, but.
tag number wasn't properly recorded. at
Right,
that
the
time.
tag, it wasn't recorded in net data or,
You been able
without-
to assess any type of value, Shelley? Something we write off, or?
yeah, we can write them off.
Yeah, I understand a paper shredder probably wore out and got thrown in the trash.
Right.
But then a subwoofer speaker that the county judge is
Yeah, I
supposed to
mean, come
have,
on.
I'm wanting to know where that went.
I'd like to know where that went too, because I could have, incorporated that into our setup in here, but.
Seriously. It was more of a, is this a?
But it says location IT, so I guess we need once we move Daryl, we might find that, then.
Yeah. It was just as much this is over a several year period, I would imagine. It's stuff that just probably wore out and was gotten rid of.
I wonder if we didn't give
Never-
that JAWS to another department or something.
Probably
Maybe they've
been.
upgraded and given it
We
to them.
probably,
Or if it got donated and it didn't get recorded or
it got
something.
donated to
Yeah.
a fire department or something, I'm sure.
Y'all good with it?
Yeah, I guess we just need to do a better job of cleaning that up as we go, shouldn't we?
Well, I mean, if we need to incorporate, like a transfer form, like if an item gets transferred to another department, a form needs to be filled out so we have record of it instead of somebody calling maintenance to come get it and move it, or, I mean, we need to keep better track of it.
All right. I make a motion, we approve.
A motion by Commissioner Leon Clement,
Second.
second by Commissioner John Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. And the other item was item number 14, which is deliberate and consider possible action regarding approving brokers for possible investment of county funds. Shelley, we had talked about this, just kind of the overview. before you got here, but we wanted to wait to have the substantive discussion after you had arrived. Like I said before, there's 3 different brokers that had submitted information. There's actually a much larger packet if anybody wants to go through.
What are we paying the broker for broker fees?
There is, my understanding is, it's, on most of them, the big thing is, let's say on a 1 year, the interest rate of the yield is 0.09, well, they're going to take that 0.01 off the top. It should be, if it was they're taking it out of the transaction and not from the county. You see what I'm saying?
So,
We don't pay them directly.
We don't pay them directly.
but it skims off the.
They
the
skim off
gross.
it, yeah.
And so, do we not have some local banks paying 0.4?
And
Or
we,
0.2 instead of 0.02?
well, I think the thing was diversifying into something other than CDs and other than just putting it in accounts with banks.
My reservation is you're not drawing anything and you're paying somebody to handle your money for you, so you're getting less income,
Well, they
We
take
need
that,
to do it, could we spread it out over additional financial institutions or banks? Could we?
They're all pretty much interrelated with each other. You go to Stone Castle, don't they all spread it out amongst the same group? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but
Let's
I'm
say there's
talking
30
about-
banks and there's 3 different investment groups, they all use the same 30 banks.
But I'm saying locally where we've got First State, First United, all those.
We do
Have we
have-
got those
We do, we
saturated?
already do that.
But,
up to the FDIC insured limits.
but you can't do that because they're not collateralized. So you can only go up to
The
the
amount you need.
Yeah.
250,000.
So, but can we extend out to Sherman, Denton, any of those financial institutions? And
Well,
not
again,
have
you can
brokerage
only go
fee?
to 250.
Okay.
And I think you're looking at, I don't know what our CD yields are at those banks anyway.
They're pretty good, they're like a 1.5 point, but
Oh, really?
like the one that's at First State Bank expires this week.
Yeah.
We got any proposed from them on what's gonna be, Patty?
They don't do it ahead of time, it has to lock in on that day.
And of course, we don't take their initial offering, right? When they auto renew, we don't take their initial offering, right? We negotiate that.
Negotiate, we go different lengths.
And through this brokerage, you can collateralize it? I mean,
It,
to what the point, I mean, they're not FDIC insured, I'm guessing?
well, normally you buy like a T-bill or a government backed.
They're guaranteed by the United States government,
Yeah.
which is supposedly the safest bet in the world.
Okay.
Who is guaranteeing the bank?
Yeah.
But it's like taking a second lien with the bank, basically.
What's y'all's recommendation?
The amount, whatever it was, whichever one of these we want to pick, which was the best deal, and they're all fairly
They're all
the
basically
same.
the same, I
And
know.
how much were we going to do this with?
I think that's the,
Keeping fees are something that you might want to look at.
that's the only spot, really, Gary, that you're truly paying them is on that safekeeping fee. If it's on like a 1-year US Treasury, if they're saying the rate's 0.1, then it may be really 0.11, and they're taking that 0.01 off the top. But on the safekeeping fee, I think Wells Fargo has one. I'm not sure all the others.
They have a $50 a month fee.
Yeah.
Does that eat up the interest?
Depends on how much money you put.
How to put this in plain English? In this great time of uncertainty, as we enter into the next phase of the United States and the current economic conditions with the COVID and the pandemic, the thought was to try to diversify out of all the lending institutions and to take not a large amount, but a certain amount of our funds, excess fund balance, and invest it in T-bills where it would be safe for the long term, but do it in a fashion that they can be, turned around in a 6-month period It wasn't that
I think we talked between 6 and a year.
6 months and a year?
Yeah.
In other words, you would get one, it would come due, you'd get paid back. We could ladder them every 6 months or every year.
And this is coming from the finance committee?
Yeah.
Yes.
But
It
when,
sounds like we're making the right choice by investing in buildings and infrastructure.
yeah, which is why we're doing, I mean,
Probably
because
wise.
you're not getting,
That shouldn't go unnoticed in all this.
there's,
I didn't hear that one. Do what?
Investing in infrastructure and buildings is a good thing, right?
Oh, yeah, yes. Yeah. Yeah, in other words, like, yeah, fixing things up around here. I got you. But I think that was a big driver in this. We're getting very little interest out of
anything.
not any of the lending institutions or the banking, and I'm not talking about the local people, I'm talking about in the greater scope of the world around here. And if you think everything is rock solid with the pandemic we're going through, I guess you're fine, but it's kind of, we ought to take a little bit of the money maybe and put it in something that would be more guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the right way to put it?
Most of the financial people that I've heard about or I'm listening to don't expect anything to get any better until at least 2023.
Yeah, it should be at least a year and a half to 2
On the
years.
interest
On the
rate side.
interest side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be minuscule.
Yeah, I think they're pretty much stuck at keeping interest low.
That's if they don't confiscate it.
Yeah. They're still talking
Moving right
about it.
along, what's y'all's recommendation?
Well, that's what we were waiting on Shelley to come here. We're still trying to debate which one's the best deal. What was your analysis, Auditor?
Well, I mean, I would approve all three of them.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
They're about the same.
To at least give ourselves an option.
That was my question, if we could approve all three.
And then up to a certain amount of funds.
And split it 3 ways?
Well, we could pick it. It's kind of like approving a group of engineers to look at the subdivisions and all that.
Rock
On
bids.
any given date,
Rock
they,
bids, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, I would do baby steps. I would approve all three and then put some money in one and just see
See how it goes.
A little bit
see
and
how
see.
it goes.
We're not talking about taking everything and
No,
chunking it in one place.
no.
But say you got $500,000, you're gonna go put it in one versus split it between 3?
Yeah, I would put it all in one. And then our investment policy limits us to 2 years.
Yeah, but I would say that's a little, I would say nothing over a year.
No, that's a little long.
Well, and I'd split it 3 ways. I'd hedge my bet.
But I think the big question is how much money are we comfortable, or do we think would be appropriate to allow total?
$1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million.
2, 3, so that's
Split it up.
So the larger you make that number, the more I wanna split it 3 ways.
Well,
Oh,
well, and that's the other thing. Do you want to do it for a year and tie that much up for a whole year? Do you want to set one up for 6 months, one up for a year?
Yeah, that's a percentage.
You follow me? And within 6 months, you have part of it back.
Yeah. Not much.
That way you're not tying it up long-term. Y'all are sharing secrets over
No,
here.
I was
doing
doing
the
the math, 500,000 at 0.0325%, $1,600 a year interest income.
I know.
That's
Big
it.
whopping
We're not
amount.
talking about substantial,
We're not talking about a huge, safety is the,
that's the main thing,
it's
and
more about
diversification.
safety and diversity than it is about
Yeah,
anything.
spread it out. I understand. I was
Well,
just
just
doing math in my head.
Dig a hole and bury it.
And we know what happened in the Bible when they did that. That didn't end well.
Just as long as we remember where that hole is, that's it.
We don't want somebody to dig it up first. Is that about the right summation, Mrs. Auditor and Judge?
So can we right now,
Patty?
can we just,
We can approve,
these three and then
Agree
decide
with that?
how we're gonna
We
divvy
can-
it up later?
we can approve, I would suggest approving all three and then put up to a certain amount, knowing that we're not gonna necessarily turn over tomorrow and put all that amount in there. And I don't know what that appropriate amount needs to be.
Talking like,
One of you committee guys need to make a
We
motion.
batted around anything from $1 million to $3 million, did we not?
Yeah, and we talked about even potentially 5, but I think that's a little, I would say
Say
$1.5 million
$3
to $2 million is probably fair.
At least.
Because the rates have come down even since we've started
Yeah, and
talking
they'll
about this.
probably continue to come down over the first part of next year.
How about if we say up to $3 million? But it has to have court approval to do it anyway, or no, I don't
No, it
know.
wouldn't,
Well, you
no.
wouldn't want to do that.
No.
No.
You gotta be able to act
I
on
would
it.
say up to 3 million.
Who's gonna make that decision to,
The what?
who's gonna make the
That comes-
decision
that's
to
a-
reinvest or to move, or
I think that's gotta be approved by the
Committee.
finance committee.
that's what we talked
Yeah,
about?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's in our finance policy, so.
So I would entertain to make a motion to approve.
Are you entertaining or are you actually making that motion?
I'm making the motion. I entertain these folks and make an attempt to make a motion. Does that sound better for you?
That's better.
All right.
And
So move, we accept the applicants.
so all three and
All
then,
three.
investment up to 3 million for,
The investment up to.
and that's only for T-bills.
Total up to 3 million in T-bills.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement, second by Commissioner Snuggs. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. I believe now we're at number 16. Pam, is that correct? We're at 16. We've jumped around a little bit, which is to deliberate and consider possible action regarding various grant funds. The first one being the FEMA 2015 flood.
Precinct 4 is the recipient of some additional funds
Another $16?
and 55 cents. They being Cone Resnick has asked for additional information for both precinct 3 and precinct 4 and canceled checks, bank statements, and invoices. Or no, what was it?
Timesheets, wasn't it time?
Payroll processing, canceled checks, and bank statements, of which has been submitted.
They also sent a bill for $300 and some that they overpaid me.
Yes,
This is the interesting part. So they're auditing the things we did in 2015. They owe us money from things we did in 2017 and 2018, and they're auditing what we did in 2015, and they want $325 back, but they won't process out of like $150,000. But they're not processing the stuff they owe us from going on 3 years ago now.
yes, because I didn't claim the administrative costs because in the prior middleman, I don't know what you call this audit group they have hired,
Contractor.
I don't have any of the paperwork because the FEMA contractor that came did it and they have it in their files. So anytime money was sent, the prior contractor sent it automatically. I don't have any paperwork. And so I didn't claim it. I thought they would send it automatically.
And what she's talking about is the administrator's fees, is what it costs for her to process all this in the auditor's office.
So they sent us the money, but I didn't send the official request for it.
And that's where the $300 is coming.
Yes, so then,
Sum of money.
because I didn't send the official request, they want the money back. So the check was in today's court, so you approved to refund the money.
Well, shouldn't have that come out of the auditor's office then instead of
No.
mine? Yeah, not really?
No.
Did you answer that nice lady?
Not yet.
I've got to have an extension written up by the end of December.
I'm not in charge of extensions.
Um,
You'll have to go to Mr. Fletcher or someone.
Well, I think the secretary, my secretary, has to clear up some paperwork with you before she does. And we've got to the end of December to have that turned in. And she started working on some of it, but she said there were some issues she had to clear up with the auditor's office, I believe.
I've not heard of any issues. I don't know. She's turned in 2 roads.
Yeah.
She just did that on Friday, so I don't know.
2 weeks.
We'll look at it. I got coronavirus due tomorrow at 5.
That comes from FEMA too, doesn't it?
Just for clarification, you mean CARES Act funding. You do not currently have the coronavirus.
No, I do not have coronavirus.
Appointment for you.
You're gonna have it tomorrow.
Predicting at 5, she's gonna have coronavirus.
Are you gonna touch base? What is that lady's name?
Kelsey,
They've changed the group again, so.
yes, Kelsey.
4 times since I've been here that they've changed.
Well,
the
that
care of
is,
this.
yeah.
Oh, well, you know.
That's only half of it.
Pretty awesome.
So that's it on 2015 flood.
All right, so moving on to 2020 COVID-19 FEMA. I don't know that we have anything on the FEMA portion of that, unless Shelley does.
No, I don't have anything on that one yet. So we are out of CARES money.
And that's item C, which is CARES Act funding. That,
No more CARES money. So whatever's getting spent now, I need to go back and look to see what it will fall under, if it will fall under FEMA COVID money.
so it should, maybe not everything, but a lot of it, or some of it will fall under FEMA, which is at least 75, up to 75% reimbursable.
Yeah. So in the very beginning, when we originally got the tent and things like that, I'm filing that under the FEMA emergency preparedness. I'm gonna do that. And then everything else went under CARES, and then now we're back to FEMA's. So I haven't even looked at it yet.
And that's all, that's the 5 o'clock deadline tomorrow that we have to submit everything on CARES. And I think we do have 2 MOUs with the school on today's court, the one for St. Mary's School and ERA School, which
I've got them included.
is included in,
I just need copies of the checks we print today for those.
so we'll need to act on those 2 items.
Yes, I need y'all to do that.
I'll make a motion, we approve the MOUs with St. Mary's and ERA.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Snuggs. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have, motion passes 5-0. Anything else on CARES?
So that only left Sacred Heart out.
Sacred Heart's the only one that never
Only
heard anything
school.
back from. But everybody else has gotten all their documentation in and all their MOUs in.
Yes. The public safety, it appears that the state is now taking all the prisoners. Through October, I was able to submit all but about $5,000 of the public safety grant, and it goes through next March. So I'm still gonna have the jail send me their paper-ready report, and I'm still gonna look to see if I can get the rest of the $5,000, but we used up almost all of it.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting to receive the last what I submitted, the 23,000 for that.
And then CTIF roads,
I still haven't submitted anything for that yet. The precinct 3 and 4 and 1 have turned things in, but I haven't submitted anything yet.
anybody else have anything on CTIF? And then F is election grants.
They've reopened the HAVA Cares part of it, not the HAVA part of it, HAVA Security part of it. And so whatever did not get submitted at July 31st can get submitted now. And so we had some money left over, and I'm gonna submit some of the part-time help for cleaning and see how much we'll have left over. Because we bought poll books,
Yeah.
but it didn't
They didn't count.
use
toward
up
the-
all of it.
Yeah.
And then Pam's PPE,
But it has to be a federal election, it can't be
Can't
a
be
special,
state, it
so
can't be
the one that's
local.
going on now, we don't get any reimbursement for, unfortunately.
And because of that portion of it, it only could buy a laptop or a poll book. It couldn't buy voting equipment.
Yeah.
And the poll books we bought previous, that could have been a match. We bought them February 24th, and this started March 1st.
We were ahead of the game a little bit there.
So I couldn't use those as a addition to.
Anything else on any of that? Hearing none, we'll move on to 17, which is executive session in compliance with Texas Open Meetings Act 551 of the Government Code. We have personnel matters, consult with attorney, and deliberation regarding security devices or audits. It is
Take a break.
10:41, we'll take a short recess and then come back into executive. All right, it is 11:28. We are back in regular session. Item number 18 is deliberate and consider possible action on public health emergency declaration for COVID-19. Mr. Fletcher, you want to give us a little update on that?
I've provided you all with a few different bits of information. First one's our current status on active cases by symptom onset, and it just shows over the last approximately 2 months, 2.5 months, what we've seen. And of course, you can see an uptick from Thanksgiving, and then the cases that are spreading as a result of that and gatherings. The next one is just a total cases by age group. It's relatively evenly distributed from those from 20 years old to 70 years old. There's just within a percentage point or two of each of those groups. Next one is just a graph showing current hospitalizations, and it continues to increase. 2 weeks ago, of course, for the region, it was 2,364, and it's up to 2,551 now. Just main thing to take from that is that there's a continued increase in total hospitalizations in the region for COVID. Next one is an occupancy data list by county. And if you go down to about the fifth one, it says Cooke, obviously, and you can track that through. This is from the package I send you guys relatively routinely, a few times a week at least. And
That
helps us.
18.21, that's the 15% number that's driving business occupancy.
Yes, but that's not the total, that's not the total number. That number is used as part of that total figure.
It's actually going to, the total number factors in a little bit more, which it comes in slightly lower,
Right.
but that's within a percentage point or so of that total.
This is a more,
That's kind of an indicator, though, we're looking at.
Yeah.
yes, this is a more trauma hospital-focused number, and I think more beds are added from other facilities that get into that number total there. But for the ones we look at, that's kind of our area, and our hospitals we feed into are part of this region then. The next one is just a nice visual by county, what the rest of the region is experiencing. And that represents Trauma Service Area E, which is where that 15% number is taken from or about, is that group there that's represented.
even though our percentage number shows high, it's based on the fact our population's smaller.
Number of beds
Based on
are
hospital
smaller.
beds.
Yeah.
Number of hospital beds.
Right. And then the last one I provided is the vaccine allocation guidelines from the state that we'll be following as best we can. We are working with the hospitals and city and county partnerships to determine those personnel that fall into those groups and trying to get an accurate count of how many feel they want to take the virus vaccine as soon as we get it, so we can have an idea of what that's going to be. And then working with those second and third level groups, critical infrastructure, nursing homes, long-term care facilities. As you see, working your way down that priority list. We think we'll be getting the Moderna vaccine, probably. The Pfizer was distributed to larger areas with the capability to do the ultra-cold storage and in the nearly 1,000 dose packages, so we won't be near that number. The Moderna vaccine is a frozen one, but not an ultra-cold frozen one, and it comes in a much smaller, I think about 100 dose vial or 100 dose shipment. And it's anticipated that I think they're coming up for their EUA probably this week or next week, and it will ship very quickly after that. So starting to get our plans together, how we're going to do this, and make it as available as we can to those priority groups before it becomes available to the general public. It is still a significant issue in this county. Our cases continue to at least stay the same, which was not good, a significant number or increase slightly. Hospitalizations continue to stay high and tax our system. We're dealing with all of the normal maladies and traumas in life, and now we've taken this on top of that. And so the hospitals are doing a really good job managing space, but it is becoming more and more difficult for patients to go to any other hospital from this hospital because all of those hospitals are full or near full. And so, again, we want to slow this down because when you need a bed for whatever emergency it is, we want it to be there. And right now, that is getting dangerously close to being a problem.
Any questions for Ray?
We will have drive-up testing again as we did in the past at the County Fair Barn Association. It'll be the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of it's this week, next week, and the week before New Year's. And then we're working on attempting to get more of that for January. We've made that request anyway.
Questions?
What does this chart represent again, one more time?
That is that is cases by symptom onset.
Cases by what?
Symptom onset.
Symptom
So
onset.
whenever we get their test results or cases, we talk to them and find out what was the first day of their symptoms, when did they first notice they weren't feeling good, and we've used that date as by case to just try to get an idea of when things have increased or decreased, or trying to tie it back to events, and just a visual representation of how it's progressed through the county.
What drove the spike or when the spike occurred.
Right.
And so some of as you get closer, because I know this is through the 11th, like the 8th and 9th and 10th, well,
Those numbers will increase.
those numbers will increase because
Right.
we
I
had.
think the 24th, the 24 number on the, on the 30th, that number, so this graph was done Friday, and I have them do it Tuesdays and Fridays. When it was done Tuesday, it was half of that, and by Friday, it had doubled for the 30th. Now, I expect to see, of course, those numbers, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, those numbers will increase as we get the cases. You know, Cook County cases, people that are tested in the county, We generally get those the same day or the next day. We have a really nice network tied in with all of our providers, and they're doing a great job being part of the team here to keep this as managed as we can. The challenge is people that are tested out of county, that it may be a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, if we see them at all. Oftentimes, a family member will test positive in Cooke County. We get that result, and they said, oh, the rest of my family was tested, 3 days later or a day before in Denison or Dallas or Plano or Ardmore, and we may never see those results. So we end up, the family members themselves, they'll either send us a copy of that result, or we, in some cases, call the facility directly, and they'll share it with us with that person's consent. But getting results from out-of-county providers is a challenge, a very significant challenge.
Do you have the total number countywide on record when this all started to where we are today?
It was 0 when we started, and it's at, I don't know the number from the other morning in front of me. As of Friday afternoon, it was 1,850 cases.
So as far as the population of the county, we're a low percentage of people catching it right now.
Was that less than 0.5%?
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
we've got approximately 40,000 residents.
Yeah.
It's about 2%.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's 2%?
No, it's a 0.5%.
It's a 0.5%, it's not 2%.
I've done the math in my head, I'm apt to be wrong.
Pretty close.
2% would have been,
2% would be closer to 8,000.
Okay.
so it's a 0.5%. Maybe a frog hair over.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's,
2,000 of 40,000?
yeah.
It's got a long way before it runs through the herd.
Yeah, that's not,
Can't be 4,000.
yeah. Well, yeah.
So 2% would be about 5,000?
Yeah, it's about, it's not half.
Or 5%.
5%. You can do the math. But it's still, either way, it's still got a long ways to go before we're talking anything close to, if people think natural herd immunity, it would have to take a while to,
Those decimal points.
those, yeah, funny things, aren't they? Any other questions or anything for Ray? I appreciate all the hard work. I know it's just continuing, because as the vaccine rolls out, that's going to be an interesting situation as well. I know a lot of the larger hospitals are getting the Pfizer vaccine this week is the plan. It's supposed to have already, shipments have already gone out in a lot of the larger areas. But hopefully that Moderna vaccine should be within a week or so out as well. So, and that looks to be targeted toward some of the more rural areas.
First, you gotta get people to take it.
Yeah. Item number 19 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding 2021 yearly Homeland Security grant through TCOG. This is a Homeland Security grant that we get every year. However, this next year has a couple of added requirements that that some of the money be spent on 4 additional qualifications or 4 additional criteria as a region. One of those criteria is for cybersecurity, and I know since we've dealt with that recently, I would suggest that we make the hardening of our cyber network a priority for one of those 4 additional requirements. And would suggest that we include a project for cybersecurity into that grant submittal through TCOG.
That decision had to be made today.
Yeah, we need to make the decision on what category it is. The funds are that proposal then goes to the advisory council, the Homeland Security Advisory Council for TCOG, and then eventually to the TCOG board and then to the state. So in order to get that going, and that has to be done all by February, they need to know something from us now, basically.
Is that a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Hollowell. Any further conversation? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 20 is deliberate and consider possible approval of MOU with TCOG for FY20 State Emergency Radio Infrastructure Grant Equipment. We're one of the few COG regions that got some money from the state for radio communications infrastructure. That money went through the COG and was assigned by region, and Cooke County is getting approximately $245,000 to be used for radio infrastructure. And this is just the MOU that we have to sign in order for that money to eventually be assigned to us or for use. So I'll make a motion, we approve the MOU. Seconded by Commissioner Snuggs. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 21 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding radio communications system proposals. And we do have 2 companies that had submitted proposals, and we've had some, we've met individually with each one of those companies regarding those proposals. It's L3 Harris and Motorola. Are we ready to make any action on any of that today? Thoughts, comments? Out of those 2, I mean, I think that the one by Motorola probably best fits the needs that we currently have, and allows for that interoperability with the larger DFW Metroplex. But that's my thoughts.
I agree. I think the Motorola proposal better situates us with what we currently have with our law enforcement and fire departments. Gives us an opportunity to keep what I would call the older system, keep it modern and useful as we transition to the 700 megahertz downrange or in the future. Expands the coverage. Gary, you got anything?
What would we do here? We would enter into negotiations with
Yeah, we need to-
Motorola, and then,
If we want to head that direction, we need to probably have a motion to finalize contractual negotiations with whatever vendor we select.
but the documents currently in possession won't be the contract.
I don't think we have it ready to sign today.
Yeah.
We don't have,
Yeah.
this wouldn't be sufficient for a contract. But I think we could have a motion to enter into contract negotiations based on the
On the proposal.
to finalize and nail down all the small parts, which aren't small, but the moving parts, let's put it that way.
So is that a motion?
That's a motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement. Seconded by Commissioner John Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 22 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding security devices or security audits. I don't have anything on this. Item number 23 is future agenda items. At some point, we need a workshop on remodel.
I'm not gonna let the parking lot go. We need to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Right now, we're just waiting on good weather and for them to finalize exactly where that low-pressure gas line is on the west side of the property. They've told me it's right inside the curb, but
Is that why they dug into the library?
Yes,
they had to replace that
line.
line, and they wanted to know if they could stop inside the library or that lot that we just purchased, and said, no, we don't want it in a parking lot where somebody can drive over it.
Retention policy.
And,
Anyway.
yeah, We need to talk some records retention stuff.
We need to discuss what we're gonna do. I'll get the stumps out of there, but how we're gonna move forward.
Yeah.
If we get some good, as soon as we get some good weather, we're gonna rip that all up.
Did we talk about, the accident that happened?
Oh, no, we didn't.
What kind of accident?
Somebody tried to create a drive-through in the Crest Building that we are
Oh,
in
that.
negotiations with.
I just thought you were trying to get the upfront parking spot.
Oh, hell,
I figured Shelley would have beat you to it. I was kind of surprised.
We still,
My car will go over the curb.
we still hadn't finalized that deal. It should be happening in January, but that is supposed to be fixed in the interim.
We need to put fence row clearing for the poor farm area back on there.
Yeah, we
I think
do.
some folks are maybe doing some bidding or something on that.
Yeah, we need to get that back up. We got plenty of things there. Anything else?
We need to say thank you to these guys that submitted information to us and appreciate the effort and time.
Yeah. We do.
That's a lot of work for everybody, I understand.
Item 24 is to adjourn.
So move.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clements, seconded by Commissioner Snuggs. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0.
What was that last thing that